The Replacement, Karen's Confession. Neil and I had been on the rocks for years, fighting every night, saying things that could never be taken back. It had been rough, and yet neither of us ever took that leap. Neither of us had ever said goodbye. I think he had wanted to just as often as I had, and I thought about it almost every night. I would fantasize about our final fight, the last battle, and how I would say those words that would shake the very world we stood on. Goodbye, Neil. But as mentioned before, it never came to that, and we never had that fight. I never got to say those words. I never got the chance to be the one to leave. Tragedy had to do it for us. On the 19th of June, 2046, at 11:03 a.m, a bomb went off at Tilkington Station, killing 5 and injuring 13. Neil had been one of those unlucky 5. The days following the attack and his death, I had felt a strange mixture of grief and gratitude. I was freed from the rest of my years with Neil and was able to do exactly what I had fantasized about for decades. Yet because of the way he died and the suddenness of it, I never got to say sorry for those wasted years and sorry for my part in it. There was no closure and there was no peace afterwards. The funeral had come and gone. The wake and the words of promised favours had arrived and departed, and I was alone in our big home outside of London, with only myself and the things he'd left behind. That's when I received the call. The Comeback Company, at least that's what I think they were called, had tried to call me throughout the weeks leading to and from the funeral. It was hard to recall a lot of that first conversation because of what they had said as their opener. We can bring Neil back. That had spotlighted all of my focus. I didn't take in much else. What? What kind of living hell was this? I remember thinking. Why punish me with the promise that a man that I had stopped loving, a man that had long ago stopped loving me, could be brought back from the tomato soup that bomb had made him? Hadn't I grieved enough? Why would I want to grieve away the rest of my single years with his return? The representative had to clarify, because at this point I was in tears. The years ago, when he and I were still calling what we had as love, that Neil had stored away his DNA, as well as his sperm and a few other things on the sly. The elements that the company had saved would make it possible for Neil to be brought back at the age that he had submitted those things, which was around 25, and that with their permission, they could begin the process. I didn't know what to think for what might have been 2 minutes, but felt like 2 hours in my mind. The representative told me that they could call me back at a different time to discuss the further details, and that I shouldn't worry about the cost of it all, because the company was going to give the process to all the families of the victims of the attack for free. It was probably a marketing thing as much as a humanitarian thing. I gave the idea of Neil's comeback tour some real thought. I didn't love the Neil that had been killed in the attack in June, but I did vaguely remember loving the Neil that had donated himself all those years ago. Would I really bring him back to please the hollowed out hole where my heart used to be? Could I be so selfish? Would it even be selfish? If I brought back that Neil, a Neil that loved me and would go out of his way to show me that, would I be being selfish or would I be being kind? The lasting memory that I would die with, thinking long term here, would be that of a man that came back from the dead to love his wife again. Someone who wasn't going to mess up his marriage again with gambling excesses and drink. I would be able to be happy for the years that remained. And for me, I don't think that qualifies as being selfish. A week or so after that revelation, I called them back and started the process. The representative and I went through all of the ins and outs. We talked about the time it would take, the artificial aging, and the legality of Neil Gawton not really being Neil Gawton, but instead being NG2, as in Neil Gawton number 2. Legally, that would be on all the applications and IDs, but besides all of that, Neil would be identical in almost every way. This is something they kept on reminding me every time that I had my doubts, when the slideshow of Neil and I's previous loveless life started to play on repeat in my mind space. My involvement in the process ended 6 months ago, and since then, all I did was wait. I was unsure whether to remove old Neil's things from the house or keep them there as a sort of test. I had decided to keep them. I just couldn't throw them out, despite all the justifications I made up. That leads us to today. Today is the day that NG2, Neil Redo Gawton, is meant to be coming home, to pick up where he left off. Today's the day that I find out whether I can or should love again, whether I deserve it. I'm nervous. He's at the door, and I'm nervous.